Well, I did it. I read the entire Cosmere. And I mean the entire Cosmere, minus Isles of the Emberdark. I'm still waiting on my copy to come in. All three of you may remember this post way back in January of 2025, and I said, I'm finally giving Mistborn a shot. Little did I know that Mistborn would turn into the entire Mistborn trilogy, the standalones, and the short stories and novellas, and Mistborn Era 2 and the graphic novels, and of course the amazing Stormlight archive, and I finally finished all of them. Did I know Brandon Sanderson was going to make me pause my YouTube channel for 6 to 7 months when I started Mistborn? No. Am I mad? Not at all. I do YouTube for fun, and I like to talk about things with you all that I'm interested in. This was interesting, and I couldn't talk about it until I finished it. The Cosmere as a whole is incredibly captivating. I found myself digging for all the little Easter eggs I could find and rereading entire chapters to make sure I understood every little secret connection. And honestly, I still don't know if I found them all, because there are tons of them. A reread is definitely in order. Don't judge me. The settings in these books are vastly different, so you never feel like you're in one place for too long. For example, in Mistborn Era 1, the setting feels like the Lindell Ashen capital in Elden Ring, but the actual city in the book, named Luthadel, is still intact, and it's pretty much the whole world that's covered in ash raining from the sky, not just the city itself. There's also a mysterious mist throughout the world that is a lot more important than you're led to believe in the first book. Meanwhile, on Roshar, where the Stormlight archive takes place, the setting couldn't be more different. There is no ash raining from the sky or mist throughout the cities. Roshar has oceans, huge storms, plants that move when you get near them, incredibly creative wildlife, the battle-weathered shattered plains, and much, much more. I know a lot of people say they want to start these books, but they're just so intimidating, especially when you look at the Stormlight archive, with each book in that series having over 1,000 pages. But I think it's just how you approach it. I normally read an average book in 3 to 5 days. Each Stormlight book took me 2 to 4 weeks, and honestly I loved that. I knew that with each book I was going to be living in this world for a while, and that was okay. These aren't quick reads, these are entire worlds that you're going to be learning about. So what does the Cosmere offer? If you're looking for a lot of romance or a ton of action scenes, these books may not be for you, but I wouldn't write them off just yet. You will get romance in these books, and you do get amazing action scenes that have really big payoffs, but there's build-up to it all. And I personally love that because to me the build-up makes the romance and the fight scenes, it just makes it matter. They feel earned instead of tacked on just for the sake of having them. Everything in these stories has meaning, even if it doesn't seem like it at first. In fact, one of the popular things about Mistborn is there's always another secret. And if you enter into this world, you'll hear that a lot. In the meantime, the build-up to those fighting and romance scenes, there's actually a good bit of philosophy in the books. You get interesting takes on good and bad, right and wrong, and at times you'll question the morals of your favorite characters. You may even question your own morals, honestly, because many of us are cheering on the murder of noble men and women. And if you read it, you probably will too. But that's the sign of a good book. It has you rooting for these characters that in real life you probably wouldn't be rooting for. The books in the Cosmere all start off like any other standalone fantasy series. They're all well contained. But as you read on, you start seeing familiar names in other books that seem to be related to the first books you read, or you see characters with similar mannerisms to other characters you've read about, and before you know it, you're in this universal level story learning about this cosmic tragedy from thousands of years ago, and this new cosmic tragedy across different planets is in the making behind the scenes. And if you hear that and say, oh, cosmic level, different planets, oh no, I don't like space books, don't worry because there's almost zero mention of space in these books, at least for now. This is 100% fantasy. Even the way the world hoppers travel to different planets is fantasy. And it's fantasy well written. If there's one thing Brandon Sanderson shines at, it's his world building. You live on Scadrial when reading Mistborn. You live on Roshar when reading the Stormlight Archive. You consider every character a friend or an enemy. You feel what these people feel. I can't even count the number of times I gasped out loud or cried with and for the friends I've made in these books. I'm not typically a reader that does that, but I was so invested in every story and every character, and there are a ton of characters, that I just felt like they were some of my close friends. I was actually really sad to make it to the current end of the Cosmere because I know it's going to be a long time before I see some of these characters again. Some of them I won't even get to see again. And that's a bummer. But again, that just speaks to how great these stories are written. Whenever I look for a story, a movie, a show, a book, whatever it is, I just want to feel. And these books achieve that with flying colors. I will say not every single book was a hit for me, but the majority of them were all wonderful. Maybe later on in another video I'll do a quick ranking of each Cosmere book, but we'll see. I also do want to add this in the video. The latest book in the Stormlight archive, Wind and Truth, was way overhated. When that book first came out, I was still reading the first 3 Mistborn books. By the time I jumped into The Way of Kings, the first book of the Stormlight archive, I started seeing some of the reviews coming in from Wind and Truth, and I was a little discouraged, I'm not gonna lie, because I was in the start of this fantastically long fantasy series, and I was really bummed to think that, oh, this may end in like a Game of Thrones fashion. But that's not the case. At least that wasn't the case for me. A lot of people were saying that it was bad, or it was too long, the formatting was whack, or that Brandon used too much modern language, and I disagree with all of that. I love the length of all the Stormlight books, and Wind and Truth, which is actually over 1,300 pages, the longest book in the Cosmere currently, rarely had a dull moment for me. I legitimately struggled to put this book down. I actually wished it were longer. I didn't want the book to end. I didn't see any modern language that took me out of the book, and lastly, I absolutely love the formatting of the book. Typically in all of these books go through like part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. In Wind and Truth, you're in a 10-day formatting, so you go by essentially 10 days. I actually loved that pacing because I felt it kept me more engaged. The book is so long that it was actually nice to have these one-day increments set aside that I could mark and give myself a goal to reach to, you know, every day or 2 days. And I don't say that to invalidate anybody's opinions. People like different things. But if you have seen these negative reviews and it makes you worried about starting this long journey because you think the latest book may not live up to what you're expecting, I would say don't worry about that. Plus, the latest book is not the final book. There is a lot more to come, and I for one am excited to see where this goes. Anyway, those are my really quick thoughts on the Cosmere. It's fantastic. If you love fantasy and want to sink your teeth into something, I do highly recommend it, as many other people have. I know that you probably have seen Mistborn and the Stormlight archive all over TikTok, all over YouTube. This is one of the ones where I can for sure say the hype is real. I was so glad I picked these books up. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you again for watching. Subscribe if you like this video, and I'll catch you all later.